I'm going to try not to talk a lot because there's a guy outside my window with some sort of power tool. And I don't know if you hear that buzzing when I'm talking to, but today's meeting is about the agenda, and usually Doug leads that anyway. So.
All right, so we can just kind of walk through them. I hope everybody's got plenty of coffee for the next 3 hours to go through this agenda. So, all right, so just kind of skipping quickly down here. Well, let me just kind of start with each section here. Priority business, supervisor appointments, town super. Kathy, I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but I think you'll probably make those announcements at the town board meeting, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yes. Well, okay. The town historian, I'm actually not going to do until I spoke to Sarah Linda yesterday, and she said that they would like to be involved in, we're going to do Zoom interviews. So yep. I don't think it will be ready by next week. So.
All right. That's not a problem.
But if anybody wants the information or to join in on the interviews, I can send you the link once it's set up.
Town clerk appointments, Jean, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I don't know if there's anything you want to say on that. And then Jim, I don't know if there's anything you want to say on that. Again, this is also because we're also kind of doing this hybrid organizational meetings.
Okay, no, I'm good. Chris is the deputy, so we're good.
Okay, all right. And then the next one here under priority business, planned unit development. This is, I sent the town board an email. ZBART is considering purchasing the property between Acustos, between Acustos and the GMC dealership, between Campus Drive and Thomas Road, right there on 332. And I've been talking to them. One of the things that I had a good conversation with them yesterday, asking them to be a little bit more creative with if they are going to move forward and coming up with something along the lines of that's in keeping with our Uptown study. And in order to do that, they would likely need a change to the PUD law. And that's basically, I just want to have a conversation with you in public session and obviously this is public session too, but just making sure that you would be open to entertaining an amendment to the law so that they could build something that's a little bit more in keeping with the Uptown law than trying to stick to that 1986 law that was obviously long before the Uptown study. So. We have 2 public hearings here. I know this isn't finance, just touch on this real quick. The short-term rental units, that's obviously, we've got the local law on the agenda. We'll get to that, I guess, when we get to the resolution. And then this next one, regarding the possibility of purchasing land on Canandaigua Lake for the purpose of public access to the lake. We have a 5 o'clock executive session. I want to talk a lot more about that in executive session, so I'm not going to kind of get into some of that detail, but I have some ideas and some things I want to talk to you about at 5 o'clock, and then we'll be ready for this public hearing at that point. So, all right, fast forward, unless somebody has something, if you want to stop anything, but any of that stuff. Okay. First resolution here, acknowledging obviously Joyce Marthaler for her years of service to the ECB and as a member of the Environmental Committee. I'm just gonna, I think these are pretty straightforward. Karen Blasey, thanking her for her service, and then Kim Foreman for her service to the ECB. Our standard monthly financial reports.
So, Doug, let me ask you a question. Is ECB like down 3 key members? Is that what's going on?
2. Let me get to that later in the resolutions because there's another section on that. And then the budget transfers. So jumping right ahead, those are all the standard ones pretty much. Okay. Okay, so this was our first new resolution. So this, do you want to touch on this, Kate? I think you're muted, Kate.
Yeah, I can touch on this. So this one has to do with water purchases, and we've had the increase in water sold and purchased because of the addition of the County Road 10 and the consolidation of the Hopewell, Canandaigua Hopewell district into Canandaigua Consolidated District. So in correlation with the increase in water sales, which is water rents, the 2140. We also want to increase water purchases, and that will just give us a little bit of flexibility. Currently, in water purchases, there's about $120,000, and I think if Jim, you have anything to contribute to this, but from looking at the last 3 quarters, the third quarter was much higher than 120,000, and the second quarter was right at 120,000. So typically the fourth quarter will be more similar to the second than the third, because that's the summertime when everybody's here. But just trying to plan ahead. We don't want to get that bill from the city at the end of the year and it to be more. And since we have already had an increase in revenue, we want to just show that on both sides.
Basically an increase in revenue and expense.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
So this next resolution, Kate, you want to touch on this one too?
Yeah, definitely. So these are just, obviously, I think you guys can see we're really cleaning the budget up and going through it with a fine tooth comb as we get to the end of the year. So this particular resolution is for the Route 332 Drainage District. Again, Jim, if you have anything to contribute, but he did a ton of work down there this year. He spent quite a bit to do some cast in place for the drainage pipe that's there that was quite old and needed to be replaced very badly. I know a lot of the residents really wanted that work done. So ultimately, once the bills all came in, we had budgeted $75,000. It was $75,917.80. So what I'm asking the board to do here is just to increase the appropriation of fund balance. That district has, I think my thing's right in the way. Yep, it has 95,000 in fund balance. So it certainly is no detriment to the district to pay the 918 extra, but this is just a formalization of that expenditure.
Sounds
And
good.
just Kate, just so or the town board, so you did authorize Kate and I to do transfers basically of up to $5,000, but because this is a fund balance appropriation, that's why we tend to do these by resolution, just so everybody's aware, so that there's a record of that. This is our intermunicipal law enforcement agreement for the next year for 21. It's $27,500. Any questions on that?
Have we been getting our report from them?
Yes, and it's attached to the agenda
Okay.
also. Yes. Yep.
I remember seeing it, but I wasn't sure if I saw it last time.
This next one, again, we're kind of coming up on end of year here. This is just a, hey, here's a snapshot in time on November 24th, 2020. So the town board just acknowledging the balances of the reserve funds as of that date, again, just for the record and stuff.
So realistically, these are the balances that we started the year at because we haven't made any transactions in our reserve funds. Is that right?
We have made some transactions. We use some, actually, let me get to that in a second because I think we're going to detail, well, the one here, let me tell you this one. So we did take $35,000 out of the bonded indebtedness reserve fund. We took $75,000 out of the tax reserve. And we took, it's actually attached to the agenda under my report. There was another transfer that we had done. Oh, it was for the highway project.
Yeah,
it was for finishing up the highway project. Yep, under the repair reserve. So we did pull money out of those 3 reserve funds, all by per your resolutions earlier in the year. But those are attached to my report, actually the detail of transferring those out of NY class and over. So on these, and you know what, let me just jump to that for a second since we're talking about fund balance. Can you give me just a quick second here? Because there's a report in there that would be easy to look at from NY class.
I'll just note too that these balances are November 24th, but as Doug mentioned, we've already done any of the authorized large transfers. So at this point, the only change that would be made to these balances would be the addition of interest for the month of November and the month of December. As you can see from the New York class reports, they're a little lower on interest, but there will be some just a small amount more this month.
So this is, here's your account balance line right here. And as Kate was just saying, you can see the interest. This is the New York class report. What we love about New York class is it subcategorizes all of the funds that match up exactly to the encode. So for instance, that contingent tax reserve, you can see here's the new balance, the 474, and then you can see it details it out. You know, it used to be that was all commingled in one investment account like at the bank, and that's one of the big benefits of using NY classes. We can subcategorize and each of them earn interest, even though the interest rates obviously are lower right now, but each of them are earning interest. And then additionally, we have $2 million in our overall investment account in New York class from earlier this year that we've moved over there that we haven't had to use. So there definitely is money sitting there.
So can you flip back to the agenda? I didn't see the park reserve there.
So the CM Parks Fund right here.
Yeah, I see it here.
Yep.
Agenda.
Yeah,
There?
so that's not, that's a little different. I don't know if it's listed on that, to be honest with you or not. Let me go back here.
I don't think it was.
It's not. I was looking for it and I didn't see it. And then I saw it there. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I wonder why it's not on that. There we go.
Yeah, it's not listed. It's not listed there.
Is it a reserve?
It is, but it's, well, kind of, sort of. It's a fund. It's its own fund. It's the CM fund. It's detailed by state law. It's not like you would make a contribution to the parks fund as a reserve, basically with end of year money type thing. It's because state law actually tells you that on subdivision, that's when it gives the planning board the authority to charge the fee and then move it over to that. So kind of yes, kind of no. I know that's not a clear answer. I'm
Well,
sorry,
yeah,
but
I feel like, because didn't we at one point put some money in there?
no,
No.
we've never put money in the parks reserve, in the
Okay,
parks
so
fund.
this-
We
okay.
put it in the open space, but not the parks fund.
All right, that's probably what I'm remembering. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
people moving into Canandaigua were the ones that put the money into it.
Yeah, no, I knew that, but I
Yeah.
thought we added to it. But,
Does that solid waste management reserve, didn't we put 100,000 into that at the end of last year, Doug?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. So it's got 300,000 in it now.
Yeah.
And that actually brings us to our next resolution that I want to talk to you about, all that stuff. So Kate, why don't you start and then I'll touch on the reserve appropriations here. So.
All right, yeah. So with this is, Doug has presented several resolutions throughout the year with budget adjustments regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and its result on our revenue stream. So now that we've come to the end of the year, we're taking a look at what the numbers are coming in at and the estimates that we have. And the really, really fantastic news is that our non-property sales tax is definitely going to be higher than what we had previously anticipated. We had a very conservative estimate, and sales tax is at this point coming in a little bit higher. So in regard to the...
Let me jump in there for a quick second on that. I'm sorry, Kate. So one of the things you guys probably all saw, even last night in the news, even with Monroe County, they're anticipating sales tax is a significant drop in November versus what they were anticipating. Plan projections was a 0.3% loss, and what they're showing is a 1% loss. But even taking that into account, just so you know, Kate, we're what, at $500,000 more than what our current budget is right now that we've already received, right?
Yeah.
Without the fourth quarter.
Correct. We've got 3 quarters so far.
Right. And then normally we would have another approximately $1 million that would be coming in for the fourth quarter. But what we're doing here is we're estimating only half of that. Again, a very conservative estimate. So we've got $500,000 extra already. We're estimating another $500,000. This is fantastic news. An additional $1 million coming in sales tax revenue that is not currently in our revised 2020 COVID budget.
Yeah, exactly. So when you have that increased revenue, it allows you to look at the other side of our expenses. And at the end of the year, We had the cybersecurity issue that required quite a bit of money to reestablish some of our software programs, as well as remote working, and the expenses to PPE have certainly taken a toll on our expense lines this year. So what we've done is we've gone through the general fund, and we're seeking to increase some of these expense lines that are very low in correlation with the increased sales tax. But that increase certainly is nowhere near $1 million. So you can see each of these general fund lines is detailed, and it comes to a total increase in expenditures to $146,500. And Doug's highlighting purchase land. I had 46,000. He added one more for us. Do you want to talk on that, Doug?
Yes. So as you all know, and we'll get into that in a lot more detail Monday at 5 o'clock in executive session, but with the conversations that we've been having and a variety of different things, I do anticipate expenses relative to acquisition of land before we close out the 2020 fiscal year at the end of January. So that just gives us some money over there so we can pay for some of those expenses. All right. So then let's move down here. So, that's 146,000. We have to keep this as, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Of that one, could you just explain the auditor one? It's like about a $5,000 jump. And I was just not sure. I think we definitely had some additional expenses. I just didn't know they were 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kate. Do you want to?
The last bill that we received was the final bill for the 2019 audit in correlation to the additional time. They were here with us 3 times this year to try to finish that. And we have $1,600 in the account, and the bill was $6,000. So that's where the 5 comes from, is to cover that last final bill. And then, as you guys know, we just approved a 3-year extension with Bonadeo to do our audits over the next 3 years. And we have agreed upon amounts. We don't anticipate another year like this where the cost will be higher.
Okay, thank you.
This really still goes back to the whole transition to the new software system, and then the cleanup work and a whole variety of different things. That's really cumulative for the whole year. So, and that is, Kate, that is the entire year budget, right? That's that 23,000. That would be the new budget for the entire 2020 year.
That's correct.
Right?
That includes some of the extra assistance that they gave us at the beginning of the year to get things together. And then also, it took them a little bit longer because they had to connect our old budget accounts with our new budget accounts and create, a new spreadsheet. So I do know it. They did definitely spend more time than they would have previously.
Right. So this just touch again on the revenue here before we move over to the appropriations. This is $1 million increase in sales tax versus what we have budgeted right now as the new reduced COVID budget that we did back in April on revenue. This actually, we originally had budgeted, I believe it was 2.2 million in sales tax. And that's about where we're at with this adjustment, but we had adjusted it down for the unknown with the COVID. It is entirely possible. I told you that normally we would get $1 million in sales tax for the 4th quarter. And this, even at 2.3 million, only takes into account $500,000 of that million that we would normally get. It's entirely possible that the total sales tax dollar for 2020 could come in at, a 2.5-2.6 number. So there may be another $200,000 or $300,000 coming in that is not even accounted for in this increase in revenue here. So obviously it has to be balanced. When we increase revenue by $1 million, we've got to total up the total expenditures, right? And then we can't have too terribly much in our fund balance because of, then you run into all kinds of situations where in violation of our fund balance policy, then the comptroller's office hits us on that, and the auditors, blah, 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 blah. So then we look at reserve fund contributions, and strategically we talk about, okay, where is it that we can put money that we know that we're going to need it and be able to use it. So I just kind of want to go through these. So this is an $853,000 appropriation to reserve funds. Campus repair reserve, there's not a lot of money in that. Obviously we used money out of that. So here's a $20,000 contribution to that. The technology reserve, obviously, we know that we had data expenses, technology expenses. I'm making a $33,000 recommendation contribution to that. The other thing is I know that we're going to have technology expenses in 21 because of the grant that we have. So I'll be able to use that to pull that money back out if we need it. It gives us flexibility. That's what I was looking for, is flexibility with some of these appropriations. All right, this one. I want to talk to you more about this in executive session, and then we can change this if you want in the town board meeting. But I have an idea relative to land acquisition that could really utilize. Keep in mind, there's already 700,000 plus 400,000. Hint, hint, just over $1 million. Sound familiar to anybody? Anyway, we can talk about that.
Gee, I wonder where that comes from.
And a couple of other things associated with that, but we can talk about that. The bonded indebtedness reserve, that's for making debt service payments for any bonds associated with the general fund. Right now, we have one bond associated with the highway, or the general fund, I'm sorry, being the highway building. Obviously, per this resolution, we would be looking to add another one, a new park, or per this agenda, I'm sorry, a new park. So increasing that, plus we pulled a little bit of money out of that, and then putting an additional 250 in solid waste management reserve for the new transfer station, plus the 300. That gives you over $500,000 for that new transfer station, Terry and Jim. So go ahead. Linda,
So
you look like you're getting ready to say something.
I am.
Okay.
In our budget, we often had some lines that were appropriating fund balance. If we thought that we needed those to balance the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And this is saying, hey, we're going to be over. Are those appropriations down to zero yet?
No.
So we
There's
actually,
even more money.
that's where, that's what I'm saying. I think there's another big pot of money for all those appropriations that we are never going to use because we're going to another 500,000. Oh my God.
490. Yeah. There is money here. We're not broke by any means.
Oh, I know.
We're in so much better shape than most of the municipalities around us.
We are, but what makes me feel bad is we put off all that highway work. And maybe we could have done more because we did, you know what I mean? Because hindsight is 2020. It's not anything we would have done differently, but yeah, I wish we could have done our plan.
Well, that's a general fund appropriation. That's not highway. Obviously, you can always move money from general over to highway. You just can't move it back from highway to general.
Right.
But it does give flexibility. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug, that solid waste management reserve contribution, based on that conversation we had last Friday with, I can't remember her name, from the county, the sustainability.
Carla.
Yeah.
Carla Jordan.
Yeah. I mean, the way she next month, January, they're going to start having these meetings with people from various parts of the county, discussing the path forward. It sounded like there was going to be, perhaps money from the county for, regional collection centers, the hub and spokes thing that she was talking about. Putting this much in there, is that, not knowing what the future is going to be? It sounded to me like it was going to be more county directed than town directed.
Well, I guess honestly, Terry, that's where I need input from you guys and need to understand it. And I'm gonna throw the question right back at you. I mean, when we did that estimate, what was that in 2014? It was 1.2. Is the county really gonna give us the full thing, or are they gonna say, hey, here's a percentage? I can't imagine the county's gonna say, here's $1.5 million, go build this.
Well, no, but they seem to favor Canandaigua over other parts of the county. And you throw the question to me, but I would have to throw it back at her because there has not been any real leadership demonstrated, in my opinion, so far. So, but that's fine. I mean, the only thing is, you put it into solid waste management reserve, you can't get it out for anything but that.
Right.
If
So
I could just, I think it's going to be a little while before that comes to fruition. We're probably the only municipality that's ready to, do anything substantial. So I think we should as we are, right, and there's no guarantee it's going to happen the way they want it to happen. Also, the
No.
county is, they're hurting for money. So I think, we still have to go forward. I think when you say you've seen little leadership, as I mentioned in the meeting, communication is a problem a lot of times at the county level, because it's such a committee system where a lot of information isn't necessarily shared. So I think there's things going on. I think it was important to have Carla there and to bring her back frequently, so that even me being at, on the county level, I have to call her a lot to find out what's going on. A lot of times we'll just get a resolution, and by that time they want us to vote and we don't have the information, which we could have been getting all along, which I've learned over time to stay on top of it. So I will try to do that as well. But she's very good at getting you the information, but I wouldn't expect it to just be going out there. You have to reach out for it like you guys did.
Yeah, I agree with what you say. I'm not saying we shouldn't do this. I just, there are a lot of questions there, going forward. So.
Well, and one of my questions would be like, we think the land purchase thing might be more likely and more imminent. Is there a way to make a reserve for that? For some of this, instead of putting all of it to solid waste?
We would have to, so in terms of like reserve accounts, there's a specific accounts that you're allowed to have per the New York State Comptroller. You can't just make a reserve account. It has to fit in their parameters. There's all kinds of rules about the type of reserves and stuff you can have. Now, if you wanted to say, for instance, take that 200,000 and you don't want to put it in solid waste management reserve, you could put it in a different reserve, or with the land acquisition being a little bit more timely for us, we could take the 200,000 and, over in the budget where I put that 100,000, we could up that to 300,000, and that would give us ultimate flexibility, but that's just a budget appropriation. And then it's going to roll back into fund balance once we close the budget, if we don't end up spending it.
Well, so is there an appropriate kind of reserve that we could establish, given that we know we're looking at things?
No, the only other thing that I know that we could do is we could create a project. We could create a project and then appropriate money to a project, but not a reserve fund. There is no reserve fund for land acquisition per se.
Well, you always have to be careful putting money into reserves also, because they're dedicated. You can't pull it out for some other use. So.
Right. Well, that's why we're talking about the solid waste management.
Yeah.
Maybe it's so far down the road that tying it up here when we know something else is more imminent.
Well, that's
the right thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, can it be held in some just fund balance that could be used for any purpose in the future? Or
well, we could on our fund balances for having in unappropriated fund balance. We're trying to that. Yeah, we're in like a tight space here.
Well, Christmas is coming. Maybe we need to spend some of the money,
It's an awesome problem to have, and I can tell you it's the exact opposite problem that most of my peers are talking to me about. So,
hey, maybe we could go into the loan shark business, 20%.
Doug, what is the overall reserve for solid waste management right now?
300. There's 300 in it currently.
Yeah.
And we estimate, at least based on those initial concept, back in 2014, it was just over $1 million. I think it was 1.2 or something or other like that. Correct. So that would give you $500,000. Plus, keep in mind, you have, I guess that's also the question that I really have, Terry, for you and Jim, the Public Works Committee. Theoretically, you could have $500,000 here. We've heard from the city that they're interested and willing to do something with us. Maybe matching dollar for dollar. Maybe they're not able to do that, but they're interested in that to expand the use of the transfer facility. You've got the county situation, and you've got, obviously it gets a little crazy out there on Wednesday nights, Saturdays, and Sundays. Do you look at doing something where it's open more frequently and going ahead and moving forward with something?
Yeah,
I agree with Doug's opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are. Yeah, I mean, we would have to, if we expanded that with the city, 3 half days a week would not be enough, Those are all questions for 2021.
So it sounds like people think that it's good to keep this here. And like we already said, we have 2 other buckets of money coming before the end of the year. What we might overrun our sales tax on, which is a positive influx, and then also those appropriation funds that need to be zeroed out at the end of the year if we haven't used them. So we're actually talking about close to $1 million more of unappropriated money that we're not. So by then too, we'll have a clearer picture about land purchase. Maybe not, but we can then make those determinations using that bucket, I guess. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would agree.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna jump forward then if we're done with talking about that. This next one is just setting the public hearing. We talked about this at the last meeting to adopt a law that rescinds the tax cap override law. So anyway, so that would officially make us tax cap compliant. The budget's tax cap compliant, but this officially makes us tax cap compliant once we adopt that law. Obviously, you all know this, so I'm gonna just, does anybody have any questions on this now that this is public?
No.
No, thank you.
Okay. Okay. This is, Sam, do you want to touch on this? You haven't talked too much.
I haven't talked at all. So we got, I think I put in there 7 proposals for the mowing for 2021, and a spreadsheet is attached with an outline for what they proposed for each park and cemetery. And White Boys came in the lowest, which is actually like $20,000 lower than what we budgeted. Doug and I did meet with the owner via Zoom just to make sure. We asked him to go through the properties again and make sure that his proposal was not too little, so that he didn't come back in the middle of the year and say, hey, I need more money. And he did do that, and we haven't heard back from him. So that is his final proposal. So yeah, that's who we're recommending, because he was the lowest for both the parks and the cemeteries.
He was so low that, you know, I said to Sam, let's get him on a Zoom meeting with him so we can have a face-to-face conversation with him by Zoom to make sure. But he does a lot of work for the city of Rochester and other municipalities, so let's try it.
Yeah.
All right.
This is our annual, Gene, I don't know if you want to touch on this. This is our annual dog control. But I think it's pretty, I don't think it really went up, did it? Gene, we can't hear you, Gene. Jean's good, she said. She gave us a thumbs up.
I guess
Something's
my
wrong with the
question
microphone.
is, has it gone up from last year?
No.
Okay, because we remember we were setting our fees to try to cover this cost, and that way we know that our fees are probably good.
If somebody can read the chat, I think Gene, are you chatting with us? No. Oh, okay.
No chat.
No chat. I think, Gene, do you need a webcam, a new webcam with a built-in microphone? Let's get Gene a webcam with a built-in microphone, Sam, please. So.
Oh, we're all gonna have to learn sign language.
I think there's a few back there. We had ordered 2 extras. So Gene, if you want to take a look in Tyler's office, I think there should be some.
No, too funny. Okay. All right, then we get into planning public works here. Jim, I'm going to let you roll through these. A Mohawk 2-post lift. I wouldn't know what that was if it was sitting next to me. So,
So when we built the highway building in 2018, we had specifically left an area in the concrete slab for a future 2-post lift for our mid-size equipment to be utilized to do repairs on, because they don't quite fit on our big parallelogram lift, but we still put them on there. So this year's budget coming up, we have funds appropriated for this 2-post lift. It's something you see in normal car repair shop where you'll get your vehicle fixed, to have mounted in our maintenance bay to service our mid-size equipment. And also lawnmowers to be put on this, so the guys aren't using a forklift to pick it up to look underneath it. It's a little safer on the people working on the equipment. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. The John Deere 644 loader is a lease that we do each year with John Deere Financial. Payment goes down each year. Not particularly sure how much is left on it, but we do it by the year. And then the next one is I went out to bid using the New York State OGS. They call it Negro Metrics mini bid site. I put in the specifications for each vehicle that we budgeted for. Usually get between 4 and 7 responses. And the responses are the hybrid vehicle, 2 parked vehicles, and 1 highway vehicle. I don't know why I didn't put Van Bortle Ford twice on the hybrid, but I didn't. So those are the locations that these vehicles will come from. They take about 6 months before they show up.
Hey, Jim, I was going to send you an email, but since we're talking about that, can you do me a favor and just send me the specs on that car? I want to send it over to the grant folks to make sure that it's going to qualify us for that $50,000. So
Okay. I'll send you specs. That's fine. And then any questions there, guys?
Yeah, are we gonna encumber the funds because we've ordered it?
No.
it's in the 21 budget. So we're ordering it against the 21 budget. So we wouldn't be encumbering them. Linda, didn't hear you.
I was thinking that didn't the auditors at one point kind of say to us, if you had it on order, it should be encumbered? I'm just sort of half remembering something.
Yeah, why wouldn't you do a purchase order for that to encumber the funds?
Well, we do for a 21, but these are 21 expenditures. We're just going ahead and placing the orders. We're getting approval to place the orders for 21. So these go against the 21 budget.
Right.
And then we do purchase orders against the 21 budget. So the 21 budget won't become live until 1/1/21.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
would it make sense to move any of them into 2020 through an encumberment so that we have the flexibility next year?
I wouldn't know how to answer that without speaking with Doug on where we're at with fund balances, certain lines. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
I mean,
to that.
we could, we have to
Really
encumber it at that point, but it's.
That really doesn't help you. It's just a matter of moving funds. That doesn't help.
Well, I know that we have all this extra money, and I was just making sure that that it gives us more flexibility next year if we could do it, but you guys think about it.
We have a lot of extra money, but I told Jim in a meeting yesterday that, you know, at the rate that I'm going here lately, I think I'm going to spend more money next year than Jim for the first time ever. So.
Uh-oh.
And then the next one is asking the board to allow me to go out to receive bids for the water main on Kramer Road that we're going to connect. And then I'll get the bids, we'll read them aloud, and then come back to the town board to approve whoever it is that has the lowest responsible bid.
Hey, Jim, we're using a lot of, I don't know what you call it, excess materials that we already have for parts of that project.
Correct.
So what's the split roughly? I mean, do you have any, of all the material costs, do we have half of it or do we?
We don't. We have about 1,000 feet of 8-inch water main that we have to order another 2,700. We're going to need some HDPE fittings. We got directional drill underneath the road.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it won't be a huge amount, Terry. I'm going to say 50, 60,000.
Okay. Because I know we reduced the overall cost of the project based on some of the materials we have on hand and, you know.
Correct. Yeah, we have fire hydrants, we have T's, but we just don't have the pipe. That's going to be our biggest expense for this project.
Okay.
Just on that, just in speaking of materials and costs, so keep in mind right now it's its own separate district, Kramer Road, but we're going to consolidate it into Canandaigua Consolidated because there's no debt.
Right.
I did talk to Chris Nadler yesterday and I asked him to make sure that we had the resolution for the January 11th meeting to set the public hearing for February to consolidate that district with Canandaigua Consolidated, because one of the things that we need to keep in mind is when we get to March, the assessor is going to certify the rolls for each of the districts. So I want to try to get it in time for that so that this becomes part of Canandaigua Consolidated for the 22 budget.
Okay,
Yep.
and my last one, I believe is my last one, is the 284 agreement for 2021. It's where the board approves it, we all sign it, and then I go and spend money.
And I mean, it's entire, based on the earlier conversation, this may be something, maybe January or February, after we get final numbers, we might want to go back and talk to Jim about increasing this to do on some additional work and stuff. So,
Play some catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, because last year we did absolutely no surface treating of any roads, so. But yes, we could discuss that after the first of the year.
Okay, so this is the local law. This is the adoption of the local law relative to short-term rental units. This is just a registration. Obviously, it does not take into account things like occupancy tax and that sort of thing. It would be that anybody who's doing a short-term rental would need to register with the town of Canandaigua. Chris Jensen and I have had a number of WebEx meetings with different entities that help provide this service and we're kind of still talking about, okay, do we need something like that or can we do it in-house? I think we're kind of heading the direction of let's get started, at least first quarter, kind of doing it in-house. Let's keep exploring. There is an entity that has a real basic system that would help us with this and identifying and sending out letters. And maybe we look at doing that, but we bring that back to you separately if we're going to go, if we want to go down that road. So, and then there is in the fee schedule, I know that there is a new fee to be charged again, starting in 1/1/21. Gene, I think it was $100. Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
And is it a 1-year fee or is it a multi-year?
Annual.
And then also is in the, I have to look more carefully at the law, but I figure you guys know this. Is there a penalty associated with having a short-term rental that you don't?
It's a violation of the zoning chapter. That was actually something that I sent you guys an email. Lawrence Cook has contacted me a couple of times about this law in support of this law.
Yeah, I saw that.
He specifically was asking me that too. And I looked into that. So that's a violation. This law actually says it's a violation of our zoning law, chapter 220, and it gives the specifics. And then when you look at that, and that's relative to all of our zoning stuff. And then when you look at that, there's like an offense for first time, second time, third time that's, and that goes before the court and the judge can make a determination of different amounts and all that stuff. So like a lot of our laws, it just makes it a violation of our zoning code. And then the parameters are spelled out in that. This resolution sets a public hearing for your January meeting on a new local law that would amend the regulations on swimming pools. And I'm sorry, I don't know the particulars of this. I got to look at that closer myself. I glanced at it, but I'm not sure I can answer any questions on that. This is a request for Venenzia Group was looking for an extension to receive preliminary approval for the Uptown study. I'm sorry, not the Uptown study. Their project called Uptown Point. So they're still working with the planning board. So that would extend the time period to June for them to get approval from the planning board on that. This one is a new MUO referral to the planning board strictly for an advisory report. This would be a proposed project, townhomes on County Road 28. Jim's getting new neighbors. So,
Where are they going?
County Road 28.
Yeah, I was emailing you and I wasn't listening.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, this is obviously, you know, with the 21 budget, I don't know if Sam jumped off or not, but this, we changed the court clerk to a full-time position. So this is just the retirement, establishing the information we have to do there. So any questions on that? Okay. The planning board, we have a vacancy with Karen Blasey coming off of the terming out basically of the planning board. Gene, I don't know if we can just correct this when we do this. This, I guess what I was just told this morning, I need to verify this, is Karen Blasey's term officially expired December
Yeah.
31st, 2021. But I believe they're 5-year terms. So something's off. We've got to just look at that a little bit closer. I don't know if that's correct or not. But anyway, Amanda is the alternate on the planning board. So she would move up to fill that vacancy on the planning board. So, any questions on that? No. Okay, the next resolution, this would be, there's a proposal in from MRB for $12,000 to help us with planning for Ononda Park. Let me just touch on this one real quick. One of the things that we ran into, and a lot of you know, there was a lot of work done at Ononda Park over the years in kind of like, hey, we need to do this. This looks like a great idea. Let's go do it. And then there was no survey that even told about, okay, where everything was going to be. And so we actually have, for instance, like, part of the trail isn't completely on the town's property. And like there's water lines that are in a variety of places and all that kind of stuff. So now that we have a survey of where all of those types of things are, the next step that I've asked MRB to help us with is creating a site plan, just like any developer would, to have a site plan for planned improvements that we would do a little at a time and make sure that we're not, for instance, putting something that's going to be in the way of some other future development up there. So, and obviously that'll be a process we'll need to work through with the planning board. So any thoughts on any of that? No. Okay.
So are they, well,
yes, go ahead.
is MRB going to make the plan, or how does the plan get, the site, when it says plan, like I could understand how easy it would be for them to make a map or something, but a plan, how does that work?
So it is a site plan. It's a site plan. It's a engineer
It's like more
plan that would have multiple pages. It'd be a map with where the various lines and improvements would go. And we've kind of floated some ideas with the Parks Committee. Obviously, all that stuff will come back to you guys, but this would kind of help us lay the groundwork to start putting some. I got to have something to bring to you guys. Right now, I don't have anything to bring to you other than just pie in the sky things.
So this will be like a map with some ideas incorporated.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that would get into a whole variety of different levels of detail with different stuff. So, and of that, just by the way, on that, and that is also a changing situation right now with, as you know, I'm having conversations with the neighboring landowners who have concerns about people trespassing from the park. And then there's another project on Seneca Point Road that could tie into different things. So there's a variety of moving pieces right now. So I'm still working on. This next one, I'll just kind of skip through this. This identifies, you guys will have to read through this. This identifies the plans for 2021 for the Citizens Implementation Committee, the ECB's annual report. Yes, go ahead.
Jean replied to you in the chat, and I just didn't want her to be sitting there frustrated. She said Karen Blasey's term does expire 12/31/2020, and Amanda's will expire on 12/31/2024.
It must be 5. That's a state law. It proceeds to the 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So we have 5 planning board members. So it should be a 5-year term. So we'll have to, as an alternate, it expires.
Yeah.
We really got to get Gina a microphone.
By next time. Sorry.
Thanks. Okay, so then the ECB's goals for 21, surety, blah, 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 blah. Okay, then, wait, we're not done. There's more. The organizational block that we would have done at the January meeting, obviously. So this is the fee schedule is attached. Jean, I'm sorry, I know you can't talk, but are there attachment 25? Let me just jump to that to see if there's other changes. I know that we had the short-term rental. I thought that I saw one other change on that.
Doug, I know while you're looking for that, the deputy supervisor was a big jump, and I was, unless others feel differently, which of course they want, I wanted to make that just the COLA like everyone else. I didn't think that was a $500.
No,
Oh.
so the budget had it at 2,500, so we put in
Okay.
here 2,000. That's what
Okay.
it was.
All right, thanks.
Yep. I think I'm almost there. 24. Oh no, I thought I was almost there. It's 14. Couldn't read.
A couple hundred pages to go, Doug.
Who does these agendas anyway? For crying out loud.
Can someone sing some Christmas songs while we're waiting?
Go ahead, Kathy, lead it off.
You don't want me singing.
You don't want me singing either.
It's like me teaching the kids and my screen disappears and I can't find where it went. And I'm sitting there going through all these open tabs, not knowing where anything is.
All right, I'm just scrolling through here. Okay, here's changes. Wait, that's not a change. Isn't $100 the same as what it is? I don't know why that's blue. Can somebody scroll down?
It was in here.
She's saying, oh, here it is, yellow.
There it is.
Okay, so here's the short-term rental, the $100 per dwelling. I thought I saw one other. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. This one, just so you know, I want to, two things here real quick. This came up recently, and it's come up 3 or 4 times over the last year or so, where we have the renovation, modification of an interior space, a commercial space. And let me give you the example of the most recent one where I said to Chris Jensen and then Jean, we got to figure out another way to do this. Ollie's Bargain Outlet is moving into where JCPenney's was. And they're just interior modifications of an existing building. They're not building a new building or anything. And based on the old fee schedule, it was unclear whether we should charge them basically that $500 for mechanical improvements or whether we should do it by square footage and blah, 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 blah. And the other way to calculate their building permit would have been over $10,000. Well, that didn't seem fair for just interior modifications. So that's why we added this in here. Interior renovations and modifications, they're not changing any of the outside walls. It does come up from time to time. It honestly, it doesn't make sense to charge them by the square foot. So this just makes it more clear that it would just be a flat $500 permit for that. And then there's another one, and she's saying, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Flash drive, $450 for the town clerk, and then the peddler and soliciting permit, $100. Is that an increase, Gene? It's the same as what it was, the $100. It just spells out per applicant. Is that what it is? Okay. And then adds the 11 by 17 for the pages. Got it. Are there any others, Gene? Okay. I'm reading sign language on my other screen. So, and then the flash drive, because I'm assuming you're getting requests now for flash drive. All right. All right. After all that scrolling, that was the fee schedule. Let me go back up here. It's easier to find the agenda than attachments. Okay. All right. Here's where we were. Organizational. So that's the fee schedule. Okay. So then this is the annual establishment of employee wage rates and payments for every single employee, all the positions, town board members, obviously there. I'm not going to go through all these. What we tend to do is for the elected positions and then the senior position, we actually put the person's name, the appointed positions, the staff positions, we tend to put the initials just so everybody knows what we do there. So as we already said, that was $2,500 in the budget. So $2,000 is the annual stipend there. we made this change, we made this change a couple of years ago. The budget officer, 0, just because obviously you're already paying me. Then all the other positions, I don't know, does anybody have any questions? These all correspond to the budget, and these are the individual initials that you see. I know there was a question, like even in the budget, we list off one amount, MEOs, with their total amount for all the MEOs. You see all the MEOs we have, for instance, but this is the annual time where you actually appoint the actual individual people, set their individual salary, and that's all done by the initials here and everything. This is that once a year annual process. With the budget, we increased the water superintendent salary and decreased the highway superintendent salary. Remember that, that's spelled out here. Any questions on any of that stuff? Okay.
Nope.
Okay, contract for Chris Nadler, Town Board, Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm gonna scroll through these fast. You guys stop me if there's something. The January 11th meeting that we had previously established. Also, we need a second meeting in January, as we always do, to pay bills at the end of the month. And with the land stuff, the land acquisition stuff we're doing, we might have an additional resolution or two at that time. So because we were able to catch your email, Jared, before the agenda went out, we changed that to 8 a.m.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
Yep, no problem. Designation of holidays. I do want to touch on this one a quick second. Here's all the standard holidays. For whatever reason, a lot of the holidays this year fall on the weekend. I don't know why. So if the holiday is on Saturday, we're observing it on Friday. If it's on Sunday, we're observing it on Monday. Also, I want to point this one out. This is a new requirement. You remember the new state law. We have to include Juneteenth as a holiday, as Freedom Day. And I did have conversation with a number of employees, and truthfully, let's face it, what we would have done is we would have said, okay, we're going to make Juneteenth, which is a Saturday, by the way, for 2021 anyway. We're going to make Juneteenth as a holiday. And because we're doing that, we're going to decrease your floating holidays from 4 to 3, right? So just to keep it simple, we observe it as a holiday and give the employee the option of observing it as one of their 4 floating holidays. Just trying to keep it simple. So, all right, the depository. I don't know if there's anything, guys, just jump and stop me if there's something you want to look at here. The newspaper, radio station, town board audit, prior to bills audit, the petty cash accounts. This is all the standard stuff, the bid purchases, our annual service contribution that we do to Mercy Flight. That's all in there. The $10,000 for the Historical Society. The Historical Society does have a new executive director, Marcy Dio. And I actually had a meeting with her last week. What I've actually asked her to do is similar to what we've done before, kind of come up with a contract for services that they're going to be providing in exchange for that $10,000, including maybe some new things that we might be able to take advantage of. And so that'll be coming to you separately at a later date, right after the first of the year. The third year, year 3 of our 3-year intermunicipal agreement with the city of Canandaigua for a $50,000 contribution to the LDC.
And Doug, if I could just jump in, I'm going to have
Sure.
a summary to hand out of where things have been going with the LDC after the meeting today, sort of a year-end summary that I will deliver, and we can make it part of the record from Monday's meeting.
I do anticipate separate of this, we'll be having additional conversations with you throughout the year in terms of maybe a new intermunicipal agreement. I don't know what that would look like yet. I know that the city manager and I did have one conversation with him in the chamber about maybe, some different ideas, but the LDC also needs to still have a lot of conversations about that.
Yeah, whether we continue.
That's a fair question, Terry. And that's why I say we'll figure that out as we go,
Yeah.
right? This keeps all of our, here's the advantage of this year, right? None of you are going anywhere. It wasn't an election year for any of you. So pretty much keeping all the committees and everything the same. Everybody has the same committee appointments and everything. I forgot to ask Kathy before I sent the agenda out. Sorry, Kathy, but reappointing Kathy to the LDC.
That's fine.
For that. A lot of our internal committees pretty much all staying the same for now. Linda, you were asking about our boards here. So I just want to take a quick second on this. So Yeah, so here's what Jean was saying. The planning board alternate position, her alternate position expired on the 24th. Reappointment of a couple of these individual to different boards. The ECB, so there is a little bit of an issue there with the ECB. Justin Damon does want to be reappointed. We do have 2 vacancies. Joyce Marthaler is coming off as the chair and no longer wishes to be, and Kim Foreman, her term is also concluding on the ECB, and she no longer wants to be serve in that capacity. We did advertise for the ECB as well as a couple of these positions. We had one person apply for the ECB who's very interested in the ECB. The conversation that I've had with Joyce and the ECB is that, and actually I'm going to put that right. I did put it on here.
I do have
that
someone
I would
else.
help facilitate.
And I had someone
Right.
else approach me about it, and I have to return her call. So I don't know if that's the person that applied, but
So on January the 7th is the ECB's first meeting for the year. So what I offered to them is I would facilitate to help them through the process. None of the current members wish to be the chairperson. So I don't know if you saw, I even put on Facebook trying to help advertise that we're looking for additional people and maybe somebody to serve as the chairperson for that. So
yeah, that's actually how I got it. I shared it on my page and someone reached out. So
yeah,
somebody's reading it.
that's good. That's good. So hopefully we can get some interest in everything.
Doug, is Joyce going to stay on the committee though?
No.
No? Oh, not at all.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. That's too bad.
Yep. So no, she just feels like nothing wrong or anything. She just feels like she served her time, and she still wants to participate with the town. She's I think interested in the tree team and some other things, but she wants to do something different. So
Hey guys, I gotta run. I gotta take some motion sickness because Doug was making me sick again scrolling through that agenda.
sorry. So,
You know, so all right, I will catch
See
you
you,
guys Monday, and go Bills.
all right.
Yeah.
See ya.
Sounds good. See you, Jared. Okay. This is any other questions on that before I move on to that one? No. All right.
No.
Just stop me again. This is our standard resolution that we do. And again, this comes in handy because throughout the year, I have to send this out in different places. This includes that $5,000 between accounts. Professional services, countersigning checks. I mean, these are all just the standard things. These are all of our policies. Again, jump in here if there's something, all of our standard policies. We did add 2 new policies this year, the energy benchmarking policy in 2020, we adopted that, and the COVID-19 policy. So that adds this to the list. I did put in my report, and of course he left at the perfect time. Maybe he knew I was getting to it, the ethics policy. Jared is working, going to try to put some stuff together for us to relook at the ethics policy. That'll have to be a 21 project. Our 7th JD temporarily assigns like we do every year, our justices to the 7th JD so that they can help out in the 7th JD, the handicap park, the official appointment of Kristen Bartolota as the town clerk, and Mary Beer is our health officer. Okay, that was a lot. I think there's a chat. Let me see. Is there a second co-chair for the Economic Development Committee? No, there is no second co-chair. So there actually is, per the town code, there's like a vice chair position. And they chose that person that was previously in that capacity is not interested in doing that. And the committee, the Environmental Conservation Board, had a conversation again about it, I guess, at the last meeting. And they don't want to fill that until they figure out who the chairperson is going to be, so that they can kind of have an organizational meeting with their whole new team. So,
Okay.
Okay, that's the whole agenda.
It's a very meaty one.
Yeah.
Stuff there. Bills. Oh, there. Bills, abstracts, $1 million abstract. The bills are on your table in your office and meeting space if you want to go through those. Kate said to me, it seems like the bills coincide with the depth of the agenda or the thickness of the agenda, because the bills get thicker when the agenda is thicker.
That's not good.
Well,
But you can
this-
see 780 of that is capital projects, so.
Yeah, they didn't stop coming in. There were more and more and more and more and more. And then I had that adjustment resolution I kept going back to and putting in more here and putting in more there because they just kept coming in.
So if everybody is fine with this, then, and we don't have anything else, maybe we are going to adjourn. What do you
Sounds good.
think?
Sounds good. Oh, I had a question, Doug, when you were talking about Chris Nadler, the attachment that with Nadler's, contract for next year, says it's $150 an hour. But is that what we're paying him now, 150?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Because it said for other types of litigation, it was 150.
Yeah, so what he separates that because he likes to draw our attention to that because most municipal attorneys charge more for litigation.
Right.
And in the past, he has also.
Yeah,
But what he started doing, I think it was either last year or the year before. I think it was actually when he became the town attorney. He started charging us the same price no matter which.
both ways.
But he still lists it separately just to say, hey, I'm giving you a really good deal.
Sounds like Chris. Well, he did have $200 an hour if he, I don't know, for some higher level work or, yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a typo or something. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, he did that on purpose, and I pick on him for a second. That even I said, Chris, I need your agreement for next year. He's like, okay, can you send me last year's and I'll send it back to you. So
Just put a new date in it,
yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, then we'll see everybody Monday at 5.
Okay.
Sounds good.
There's two
All right,
separate
see you.
seats for
Thanks,
that,
everybody.
right? Two
Merry
separate.
Christmas, Joe. Yeah, there's a separate code and stuff for that one. So, yep.
Right. So yeah.
All right, see you. Bye.
Okay.